Hi, what's up everyone? Welcome to the video. I am GCROCK and today I wanted to discuss the state of gaming, or the current state of gaming, where we're at in 2024. This is a conversation I've had a lot with you guys in stream. I've been speaking about it with friends. It's definitely a conversation that's going on in the industry right now because of everything that's going on. So I thought we'd do a video. I've recently spoke about it with Pony, our server admin, and he said, G, you need to put this into a video because you've just created a little framework for a 30-minute video there. So I don't think we're going to be 30 minutes today, but I do want to discuss it. And when I'm talking about the state of gaming, I'm talking about all of the layoffs we have had in the last year or so. The fact that investors are not investing in games as much as they used to. I think if we go back as far as Cyberpunk, I think that's when the real big issue was highlighted, how much that game got hyped, how heavily invested Cyberpunk was, and then the deadlines that they had to reach to get that game out, and it was an absolute mess when it launched. And since then, there's kind of been a knock-on effect, if I'm being honest with you. It was happening before that, but that was a real big deal at the time. It was that big, it was unprecedented, because you had Sony remove it from the Sony store. It was that bad on release. I played it on PC and I had loads of issues, but it weren't as bad. The console release was dreadful and it was big in the media. And we've had other instances with games as well. So there's that. There's that side of it. There's the investor side of it. There's the fact that a lot of money was being pushed into gaming, whereas now it seems that their money isn't getting pushed as much as it was. Investors are just not as interested as they used to be in the gaming market, which means that there's talk about AAA gaming coming to an end. I don't think that's going to be the case, but we will talk about that. And it's just a new era, I think. We're going into a new era now. And now, it's not just like your Cyberpunks and your investors and things like that. It's the fact of all the layoffs we've had in the last year or two as well. There's constant layoffs all of the time. It's like every other week, there's another story about a studio that's laying off staff. You know, we've got AI that's become so big now. AI has been a thing for so long, but it's not like it's anything new, but I think how advanced it is now is new, and AI can do so much more than what it used to be able to, and it's actually taken over people's jobs. So we've got that issue, and we've got the issue of making more money as well, where we're laying off people. And I'll go as far as just last week, we've had more layoffs at Red Storm, a game we played at Division 2. Red Storm are the studio that work on the PvP side to the Division 1, Division 2. They were working on Heartland before that got cancelled. And they were moved over to X Defiant, and a lot of the team, or some of the team, have just been laid off. So there's all these layoffs happening. Now, what I kind of want to discuss today is the three main factors or points why I think we're in this current state. We're in a state where people are, headlines are going out that AAA gaming is coming to an end. We've always got these layoffs, and just why we're in this current state that we are in gaming. There's three things that I think. Now, money is the first thing. Now, I think that's become, money's always an issue, no matter what we enjoy in life. I really used to enjoy football, soccer, to you Americans, and I felt the bigger the game got in this country, the more money that got involved, and the more money people were earning and things like that. It kind of like took for me, it took a lot out of the game for me. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. And I do think that's one of the problems we have in gaming right now. I think the amount of money involved, how big of an industry it is, and it's going to keep growing as well. It's a huge industry, but there's so much money involved now. It's became more about the money than making great games. Like that is your priority. Your priority is money. Obviously, you're going to make a good game to get that money, but that's the most important thing. I never used to be that. It was a big factor, but a lot of the time in the past, and I'm talking decades ago, it was about advancing games, it's about creating games, it's about making the best game possible. And a lot's changed in that respect. Secondly, I think another big issue is we've kind of reached a mountaintop. So when I'm going through my life as a gamer now, I started out in the, I want to say 90s. I had a Sega Mega Drive as my first console given to me from my parents. I went through the Sega, SNES, Nintendo 64. I had a Dreamcast. I went to PlayStation 1 eventually, and then the PlayStation 2, then the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, and all the Xboxes. But what was apparent through those decades of going through all those systems was the advancement, like from one to the next. The Sega to the Nintendo 64, the Nintendo 64 to the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2. Now, these were huge improvements. They were really next gen, and it gave developers something to aim for again every single time. There was just huge. There were leaps and bounds better than the previous generation. Even PS2 to PS3 was leaps and bounds. And I'd say PS3 to PS4 as well, although not as big a margin, it was still a big leap. When we went from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, and I'm using PlayStation, it's because I was a PS fanboy, but when we went from that sort of generation, it wasn't such a big leap. Like, I was playing PlayStation 5 exclusive games, which were next-gen exclusive, like Gotham Knights, and there's PlayStation 4 games that did it better. There's PlayStation 4 games that were better than PlayStation 5 games. Like, there wasn't a huge increase in, like, the quality of that new generation. Like, yeah, we got better speeds, we're getting better frames, but when you look at the difference throughout the last few decades on generation by generation, it certainly has become smaller, the quality of the increase in what we're getting. And that's played a big part because we're kind of at that mountaintop now where, yeah, things are still getting better, but they're not getting that better, why that affects the gaming market is because, for me, you don't make it's hard to make better games. Like, we've done it all, right? So how do you keep on making games that people are going to find refreshing, fresh, new, and enjoy? When we were making those huge increases, generation by generation, there was always the better COD game to make. There was always the better football game to make. There was always the better, whatever game it was, game to make. You know, we had the old gen version, but the new gen, there's so much more we could do. And it was fresh. It was new. There's just so much more you could do, like I said. Whereas now, when you go from PS4 to PS5, you think of God of War, for example. You had the PS4 God of War, you had the PS5 God of War, which I don't even think was exclusive to PS5, thinking about it. You could correct me if I'm wrong. But the difference weren't that much. People still kind of preferred the one prior, and it was just a new game. It was a new story. It was a new experience for sure, but it didn't give you anything fresh. It didn't give you anything new. And we're at that level now where every new game that we get is not really different than the one we played. There's not huge improvements. They're not fresh. So gaming developers are having to deal with this because of the market. I know some of us as gamers get tired of gaming from time to time anyway. You know, we got lives. I've had years not playing games because of how busy I've been, being a parent and things like that. But generally, we love gaming, and when we do have time to do it, we will do it. But we've got to a point where it has probably for some people just got a little bit boring because we're missing that next big thing. And it's hard to find that next big thing now. So I've gone on about that enough. That was point 2. And point 3, which I think is a big issue for the current state of gaming, is social media. When I was a kid and we were going through these generations of games and there was new games coming out, the way I used to read up about a game was through magazines. I used to always buy this PlayStation magazine. I think it was called PSM. If I remember, maybe was it PSM or PSW? I don't know. But it was like a weekly magazine that released, and it had all gaming stories, new games that were coming, the top 10 games in the UK right now, and things like that. And that's how I used to get my information. And I used to hype the game up, obviously, you know. There'd be honest reviews as well, but they were hyping games up. And that's all you had. There wasn't the internet to then go on and watch tons of videos on YouTube slating that game before it was even released, or lots of toxicity around it, or just made up stuff and rubbish. You only had really that magazine or anything that the media that we had then was showing you, I guess. And it was mainly through the magazine because the internet was very fresh when I was younger. And it's got to a point now where I think gaming has to contend with that. A great example is Star Wars Outlaws, which is being released soon. Before it's even released, we've already got huge content creators, influencers creating videos, getting millions of views, Some people trying to boycott it because how bad it is apparently, or how bad Ubisoft are apparently paying people to give good reviews, and just lots of controversial videos that millions of people that may have been interested in this game are looking at. And we're in a time now where we let this dictate what we buy and what we think. We will believe our favorite influencer over, whereas before there was no influencers involved. There's just our thoughts on what we read. Do we like the sounds of that? Yeah, we do. We'll give it a go. Now we have these influencers sharing lots of information. We have like bandwagons forming where people are just jumping on stories. And a lot of social media now, I think, is kind of like killing that anticipation and hype that we used to have. And then I go back earlier on about Cyberpunk, where we have had real big games hyped and they have flopped. And this has happened. So again, it kind of gives you distrust when new games are launching, because are they even going to work? Are they going to be playable on release? I'm spending my hard-earned money on this game. They're not as cheap as they used to be either, right? Like, for example, Star Wars Outlaws now for the Ultimate Edition, I think it's £120. I used to buy games for about £30. It's a huge increase. You are investing a lot of money in these games, and you at least want them to work. So this, I feel, is where we're at in the gaming industry. It's not a great point. I don't think it's the best point it's been in. I do think the market is still huge. I think the market has got a lot of potential. Obviously, it keeps on growing. The gaming market grows all of the time, and it will do for the next few generations. And it is a moneymaker for sure. But I think one of the positives I've seen recently about I'm gonna say like a turn coming where hopefully it's not just all negative bad games being released or layoffs happening. It was the Ubisoft investor call that we had a document about recently, and they were discussing how what they've noticed with trends recently is that they've noticed that they need to be looking after their current games. They've noticed at the minute people will go and play new games, but they tend to always go back to the game that they love. So if you think Fortnite, Call of Duty, The Division 2 has a very solid fan base. Destiny. Gamers will find a game they love right now and they'll try other games out, but they tend to go back to the game they love. And they've noticed that. So they're going to be spending a lot more time and effort on their current franchises, and I think that's a good thing. We can see The Division 2, which is a game I play and cover, that has had a lot more support over the last few years. It's had a Division 3 announced for it. You've got Ubisoft with like Assassin's Creed as well. They look after that series. They're working hard on extending that and bringing games out to keep that fan base happy. And I think that goes in with what I was saying before. There's not really anything too new and fresh you can do right now with the current generations of systems, and even the next gen. They're not that big of an improvement to keep on bringing people something brand new and fresh. I think looking after what you've currently got and what people already love is probably quite a good strategy, and just giving them more to do. Because as a gamer right now, what I want is just constant content, more to do. I want to play The Division 2. I want to play it all the time. I don't want that game to end. I want new content to be there every single week. And I think this is the pattern that you're going to see companies take maybe over the next few years, is looking after the current franchises, maybe making sequels or whatever, or just extending those live service games. And live service games is another discussion. I know a lot of people don't like the fact of there being live service games where you have to be online, but at the same time, it's a great way just to keep you engaging, keep you active without taking tons of risks. But yeah, that's basically where I am at with the current state of gaming. It isn't the best state. It's definitely some worrying times when you see how many layoffs there are and how AI is advancing. You read these stories about how AI now doing jobs that people could do. So, all that hard work and that they've spent all their lives really to get as good as they are what they're doing, and their roles just getting took over by AI. It's not great. I do think the state of gaming will get better though. I really do, and I think that there's more to come. I think we're just kind of like in this zone right now. It's gonna be for a while, and we're waiting for that next big surge, I guess, or that next big thing that will take us on to the next era of gaming. It's certainly going to keep on growing, It's just different than what it used to be. It's definitely different for me and what I knew growing up and how I used to enjoy gaming. So it'll be interesting to see what you think and your comments and where you think the current state of gaming's at, and what you like and don't like about the current gaming industry. Let me know down in the comments. Again, thank you, Pony, for suggesting to release this video. I think I've covered everything that I covered with you the other day. But yeah, if you like this sort of video, be sure to hit like, subscribe for more content if you're new here. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and peace out.